The question brought before us is clear. We ask the text to speak over the events of this day, August 26th, 2026. The lead verse that anchors our inquiry is Isaiah chapter 53, verse 10. It says, "Still it pleased YHWH to bruise him. He has put him to grief. When you will make his life a priestly offering for guilt, he will see his seed, he will prolong his days, and the pleasure of YHWH will prosper in his hand." This is the foundation upon which we stand. Let us look first at the day itself. In Syria, the Syrian Democratic Forces have dissolved after merging with the National Army. On Mount Hermon, Israeli forces maintain a presence in the buffer zone. In the West Bank, a memorial in Madama was damaged by a member of the Knesset. In the Strait of Hormuz, officials discuss new shipping routes for vessels. In the United States, senators urge restraint regarding settler violence. And here in Israel, we brace for unprecedented summer rain and potential flooding over the coming weekend. These are the facts of the hour. We do not speak a chance. The pattern is affirmative. The direction is clear. Consider the dissolution of the Syrian Democratic Forces. This is a moment of structural shift where disparate powers fold into a single sovereign authority. In the text, we see this same movement in Haggai chapter 2, verse 4. It commands, "Be strong, O Zerubbabel, and be strong, O Joshua, son of Josedek, the high priest, and be strong, all you people of the land, declares YHWH, and work, because I am with you, declares YHWH of hosts." The strength here is not merely military persistence. It is a divine assurance. The news speaks of threat calculation. The scripture speaks of covenantal presence. Then there is the matter of sacred spaces and human dignity. The damage to a memorial in Madama stands in stark contrast to the reverence we are called to uphold. In the text, we find a lament for bloodshed like water, with none to bury them. This is about the violation of sanctity. When a memorial is struck down, it breaks the order of memory and respect. The scripture mourns the unburied dead. The news depicts an act of desecration. We are called to honor the dead and uphold the sanctity of life. We also see a shift in diplomatic status. The United States has removed Syria from its list of state sponsors of terrorism. This echoes the principle found in Numbers chapter 22, verse 12. Elohim replied to Balaam, "You will not go with them, and you will not curse these people, because they are blessed." The common thread is the removal of a negative designation. Just as Israel was declared blessed and protected from cursing, this status shift removes a nation from a category associated with hostility. However, we must see the distinction. The biblical context relies on divine declaration overriding political intent. The news event describes a unilateral government decision driven by strategic interests. In our testimony, we recognize that while labels change in the world of statecraft, the blessing of YHWH remains the ultimate authority. The economic and maritime dimensions concerning oil tankers and shipping routes in the Strait of Hormuz present a different picture. The drawn text does not contain imagery of straits, mines, or international shipping lanes. No verse in the provided list speaks to clearing obstacles from waterways or negotiating joint commercial corridors. This is an absence. The text does not speak to these modern geopolitical logistics. We do not force a connection. The scripture is silent on the mechanics of trade and navigation. This silence is a boundary. It tells us where commerce stands apart from covenant. Similarly, the environmental warning about unprecedented summer rain and potential flooding has no counterpart in the draw. None of the verses address weather anomalies or flooding directly. We do not reach for a statistic to explain this gap. We simply note that the drawn word does not carry this specific marker. It is a limit of the correspondence. In matters of governance, the removal of a negative designation mirrors divine protection. But the motivation in the news is strategic. The motivation in the text is theological. We do not conflate the two. The assassination attempt mentioned in the news finds no parallel in the listed verses concerning threats to family members or failed plots against heirs. We do not invent a connection. We accept that some events stand outside the scope of the drawn testimony. This is not a lack of faith. is a respect for the integrity of the text. We do not force Scripture. So, what is the answer to the question we brought? The answer is found in the lead verse. Isaiah chapter 53, verse 10 tells us that it pleased YHWH to bruise him, to make his life a priestly offering for guilt. This is the heart of the matter. It is not about political consolidation or economic provision. It is about the cost of redemption. The pleasure of YHWH will prosper in his hand. This is the promise. Amidst the dissolution of forces, the damage to memorials, and the shifting of diplomatic labels, the ultimate reality is the priestly offering that secures our future. We are not here to predict world events. We are here to testify to the truth that stands above them. The text speaks to leadership, covenant, and conflict with great weight. It speaks to governance and land territory with clear correspondence. But it does not speak to the mechanics of shipping or the anomalies of weather. This is the shape of the testimony. It is partial, but it is true. We are called to be strong, as Haggai commands. We are called to honor the sanctity of life, as the lament for the unburied dead reminds us. We are called to recognize the blessing that protects from cursing, as Numbers teaches. And we are called to rest in the promise that the pleasure of YHWH will prosper, even when the world is in turmoil. This is the synthesis. The news provides the context. The text provides the anchor. The verdict is affirmative. The pattern holds. We do not need to explain the methods or the statistics. We only need to speak the truth that is written. The day has its events. The text has its word. And we, as a ministry of reception, stand in the space between, offering up our testimony in the name of YHWH Shalom. Let's not be distracted by the things the text does not cover. Let's focus on the things it does. The strength of Zerubbabel and Joshua. The protection of the blessed people. The priestly offering that secures our seed. These are the pillars of our faith. They stand firm amidst the shifting sands of politics and economics. We close with this plain answer. The text supports the day in matters of leadership, covenant, and conflict. It does not support the day in matters of trade logistics or weather anomalies. This is the result. We accept it. We do not argue with it. We simply speak what is there. The pleasure of YHWH will prosper in his hand. This is our hope. This is our testimony. May the words of this day be received in faith. May we be strengthened by the presence of the one who is with us. May we honor the sanctity of life and the memory of the dead. May we recognize the blessing that protects us from cursing. And may we rest in the promise that the priestly offering has been made and the pleasure of YHWH will prosper. This is the end of the testimony. The question has been answered. The text has spoken. We listen. We receive. We stand firm. YHWH Shalom. The lead verses drawn in this altar of reception session were Isaiah chapter 53, verse 10. 2 Samuel chapter 22, verse 51. Judges chapter 12, verse 4. Daniel chapter 3, verse 14. Numbers chapter 22, verse 12. Haggai chapter 2, verse 4. 94 further verses were drawn in this session. This concludes today's interpretation at the altar of